What's going on, guys? You already know what it is. It's the RPO College Football Podcast, your college football podcast. I'm your host, Jerome Jones. Go Blue. Got my guy, Lamar.
Yo,
How you doing, sir?
doing well, man. Excited.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. College football playoffs is coming. And we got the man, the myth, the legend, my man, Mr. Freeman. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Doing great,
Doing great, man.
You already know how I feel right now.
I know, dude.
already know how I
Them boys
feel.
got a dub.
I know. You got your pump sneakers on right now. You're floating through. I got you, man. I got you. It's all good. I got you. I got you.
Listen, 10 years in the making. It's been a while. I deserve my glory. I deserve some smile. I was happy all week, man.
I'm just glad that we didn't fire Jim Harbaugh this year and set you back 5 years. That's all.
You might be right about that, Ray.
He was definitely calling for that.
He was wearing shirts for a month that said "Fire Jim Harbaugh" on it.
You're right. I made a shirt that says "Fire Jim Harbaugh" all last year. Ray, you were completely right about that.
Some things may slip my mind, but usually not football related, man. Yeah. So,
Hey, faithful user, he said, "Oh my God, I'm happy for you, Jerome. So happy." Thank you. I appreciate whoever you are. I'll definitely check who you are, but I appreciate you being in the chat room, sir. And as everybody that is in here, you can put your live comments in here, like the gentleman down there. Pretty sure. I think that might be. I don't think it's Remy. It might not be Remy. Remy's an Ohio State fan. He might not even want to watch right now. If you are in here, Remy, what's up? But
I'm going to be honest with you, man.
If that's Remy, I knew it was Remy. He said that's sarcasm, bro. Yeah, Remy, if I knew it was you, I would have known that was sarcasm. What's up, my guy Remy? Thank you, appreciate that you being in here, and everybody else for being in here. Remy, let me go a little bit, man. I'm gonna go, but we're gonna talk about that in a little bit because we got some big news, some breaking news going down, and we're gonna talk about that first. Because Mr. Ray Roberts, your head coach of your Notre Dame team, just lost their guy. Brian Kelly is going to LSU. I want to start with you, man, because you're the Notre Dame guy. I know how you feel about him. I know how your son really feel about him, right? Ryan. What's your take on what's going on with this? Do you think it was a good decision for him? And what's the next step for Notre Dame?
Yeah, man, $9.5 million worth of good decision. I mean,
wow.
It comes down to money. It always does, right? I'm very disappointed. We're going to get to see if Brian Kelly wasn't that good or if he was that good, aren't we? But I have a feeling that recruitment-wise, I'm scared. I am. I know we're not going to lose a lot of guys. I can't remember. I just heard we just lost a 4-star corner. But I just don't understand. I don't know where we're going to go from here. I don't. There's obviously guys, and the guys I've heard is Matt Campbell from Iowa State. I've heard Luke Fickell from Cincinnati, who I would not have a problem with. But we have Marcus Freeman, who we just hired last year's defensive coordinator from Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. Brian Kelly tried to take him with him when he left, which is really
Avery, go Blue. I forgot Avery's
which is the only thing that really upset me about him, because that's over the line. You don't do that, man. The guy just got here, and so it may put us in a position where if we don't offer him the head coaching job, we may lose him to somebody else then. So I'm a little worried about that, because I love Marcus Freeman. I think he did a great job with the defense. They started out a little slow, but once they got the grasp of what he wanted to do, because they changed a little bit from last year.
I agree. Yeah, Brian Kelly definitely did y'all dirty. I'm sorry.
No, I agree. I agree with that, but I just think, man, anytime money is involved, I step away for a second. He goes from making $2.67 million to making $9.5 million a year.
Right. Maybe say he lost.
Yeah, that's the crazy part about. Yeah, I think that's the crazy part about college football is that for so many years there was such an expectation for players and student athletes not to jump ship or chase an opportunity or a better opportunity and just stick it out, right? I think with the college football how it is nowadays, it's aside from a few big names like Nick Saban, Les Miles, many coaches are staying at a program to create a legacy, and I think that's kind of people are starting to get away from that, looking for the next big opportunity.
I mean, if you're a Brian Kelly, person or someone who supports him, you could argue, well, he had a legacy in Notre Dame. He won the most games in college football history with the team. He never won a national title, but he did win more games than any other coach that's ever coached there. Man, Brian Kelly as a recruiter, he's done a really good job at Notre Dame. Like we talk about this all the time, offensive linemen, defensive linemen, defensive backs, linebackers. He does a good job recruiting them guys, tight ends. He does a really good job with it. But I do me dirty's a little strong. Disappointed because he was that guy that used to say, well, I'm an Irish Catholic and Notre Dame has always been my job and blah, blah, blah. Right. That part of it bothers me. And you know what? I'm not gonna lie about I'm gonna root for him to lose. I absolutely will. I mean, you jilted my team. I'm sorry. I mean, you can make, and I listen to everything you're saying. I understand money in the end talks. Right. You're probably thinking, well, I'm at LSU. I'm in the SEC. I can recruit SEC players now. Blah blah blah. I get them to come here. But it's a little easier to recruit to Notre Dame than it is to recruit away from Alabama and them other SEC teams. So we'll see how well he does.
Bingo. I 100% agree with that point right there.
We'll see how well he does, man. If he does,
he thinks he's now gonna start getting those Ohio State guys that he couldn't get, and those Michigan guys. That's what he's about to start getting.
If you look at Brian Kelly, the one thing about him is that he is a little bit of a finger pointer. You don't see him take it on the chin too much. He does change coaches a decent amount. Mm-hmm. He does point the finger at players every once in a while.
He does.
Sometimes that can hurt you. We'll see. I mean, I'm gonna root for him to lose, just like I rooted for Nick Saban to lose, and I realized it was pointless. He's Alabama. I mean, he's not gonna lose. But God.
Well, I was gonna say, Remy, your first comment. We're gonna get back to that. That's talking about the Ohio State thing, so we'll address that in a little bit. But he also says, so the Kelly move is just about the money, right? Because LSU is not a bigger job than Notre Dame.
I agree with that 100%. Of course, if you're from SEC country, you don't agree with that, which is fine. Mm-hmm. I agree. I don't think that LSU are they on an even keel. Talent-wise, they are.
Yeah. I just don't. I get what you're saying though. Like as a school, obviously we'll take a Notre Dame. They more prestige, higher caliber of a school. However, the SEC, we all know the SEC is bigger than everything. Shoot, everything. So that's how I think that's what people, if they base that statement, I wouldn't say it's a better job personally. I just think the fact that going to SEC, that's what people will hold up on a pedestal. SEC.
Yeah, Avery said it was definitely a money move, and he said we're talking Notre Dame. Remy says absolutely not. Come on, Brinks. He said absolutely not. Notre Dame is a natural fall, has a natural fall, and LSU not as much.
Well, there's a reason why the most highly rated college football game is Notre Dame, Alabama in the title game. So there's a reason for that. So.
Yeah. I mean, Notre Dame definitely get there. The only thing I will say the two things that I'll say that we just have a slight advantage over Notre Dame is that one, they get a title game, a championship game.
They do.
That hurts y'all at the end of the day. Every once in a while.
Jerome, can I say this though? If Notre Dame wanted to join a conference, they would line up for us to join their conference.
Yeah.
Okay, so
that does help you. That does hurt y'all in the playoffs, though.
It does. It does not having that game kind of hurt you.
Yeah, and the second thing is like the SEC thing. It's just the SEC thing, just the bigger conference. Everybody wants to be in it. Obviously, you see two teams trying to go in there. So the SEC thing, everybody just thinks that it's SEC. I don't agree with that because there are very good quality teams outside of the SEC. But
100%. But SEC fans don't think that. I can tell you that right now.
Oh, 100%.
No. I understand, and I agree to a certain level. Without a doubt.
They not officially join ACC. They just joined their schedule.
Exactly right. They joined a conference schedule last year, so they didn't get shut out of playing games. Basically.
Then they played. That was just last year. That was just for
last year. That's correct.
That was the only thing for that.
It's not really confusing. In order for Notre Dame to play a schedule last year, they had to play in the ACC because they're affiliated with the ACC in college basketball and every other sport. They're just independent in football. But in order to get a 11-game schedule or a 10-game schedule, they had to join a conference last year.
Yeah. It was just a 1-year thing.
It was a 1-year thing.
Hey, Lamar, did you have anything that you want to close on?
No, I hope LSU is able to bounce back and become competitive again in the SEC for sure.
Yeah, the pandemic year, Remy. Yeah, I agree with that. But
I mean, you could say this. I mean, LSU has won a national title in the last few years, and Notre Dame has not. So that obviously
points to something.
Exactly.
Yeah, I definitely think. But I definitely think that Brian Kelly definitely messed up by not staying because think about it. He despite him being the most winningest coach in Notre Dame, in their history, he hasn't won a national championship, and they got destroyed.
He's also the only one that's been there more than 6 years that never won a national title.
Right.
So it's tit for tat, right?
Right.
I mean, Jerome, you know this. Some people argue that Brian Kelly is the reason why they haven't won a national title. Now, I'm not going to say that because I don't.
Somebody as in Ryan, and
No, Ryan, guy David Turner, who works out in Arizona for Mav Sports. That's all I ever hear from these guys. But I don't agree with that. I think Brian Kelly has done a good job. And could they have called different plays? Yeah, they could have called a different play here and there on offense, and that's why he hasn't called plays in almost 3 seasons either. So
right.
Yeah. I mean, all right. So from one head coach to another, we got Lincoln Riley. He was actually the first one to move, leaving the Oklahoma after they just lost. We're gonna talk about that game also, but they just lost to Oklahoma State. Then a few days later, he gets hired at USC. Oklahoma lost some huge recruits. I mean, they had a really good recruiting class coming in for the 2023 class, and they lost a lot of those guys. They lost a couple of guys from the 2021, 22 recruiting class as well. But Lamar, I'm going to start with you on this one. What is your thoughts on this whole thing with Lincoln Riley? Right after he said he wasn't going to, I think it was LSU that he said he denied, and then like a few days later, he's going to USC. So what's your take on this whole Lincoln Riley going to USC thing?
Well, Lincoln Riley to USC, I would say that I kind of see a second coming of the, dare I say it, Pete Carroll era. I think that Lincoln Riley will be able to bring that allure. I think Lincoln Riley will be the coach to bring that allure back to Southern California. I think that because of who he is as a coach, who he's helped produce as far as quarterbacks coming out of Oklahoma, I think he knows how to create that allure for talent to come. He knows how to compete in recruiting. I think he'll be able to get USC back to that level amongst many other coaches for sure. I think it's a good move, great move on both parts.
Definitely. Remy says that USC another wrong one. It seems to right. Wrong. No one can seem right. Too right. Okay, sorry. So Lincoln went because of money too. I believe that was money too as well. I mean, money. You go into a better climate area, a little bit more pristine as a whole, as a program. Ray, what's your take on this as well? Do you think that what Remy says is correct?
I think that I don't know if I know USC historically is the more prestigious program without a doubt. I mean, I respect Oklahoma. I still think they are going to make a mistake by moving in a couple years to the SEC. Now that you've lost your coach, I mean, man, it doesn't look good, does it?
All right.
And I do think part of it was money. I think Lincoln Riley saw the writing on the wall and said, you know what? This is probably not going in a great way, especially if coaches are going to start moving around. But again, man, everything comes down to money, man. We know it comes down to money. We know. I mean, going back to Brian, but I don't know how much money Lincoln Riley's making. I don't know that. I don't know how much more he's making. I mean, I know Notre Dame because I know Notre Dame, and I get little, like you guys, like little pings about stuff from Notre Dame on my phone. So check it out and see what the facts are and all that. I don't know if he's going to straighten out the mess that it has been USC the last couple of years, but I just think that he is. I don't think it's a great move. I don't.
Yeah,
I think it's a good move for him money wise, and it is a little bit of a bigger pro. Do you think that they're going to compete in that conference more than Oklahoma will, where they're at right now? I don't know if that's true. Maybe Oregon's a better team than them.
I mean, it depends. I mean, and a great segue because I was going to actually ask LaMarcus this is that, I mean, Oklahoma, they lost a lot of good recruits, guys that, could lift this next team. And Lincoln Riley did the opposite of what Brian Kelly went. Brian Kelly went to an SEC school to get more exposure. Lincoln Riley is moving from a team that's potentially going to go to the SEC team, and now he's going to the Pac-12. So with that being said, you would think that, and I'm gonna let you answer this one first, LaMarcus, because you're more into the recruiting side of college football. With that being said, Oklahoma lost a lot of players. Some of them are going to USC. I don't know. I don't remember if all of the last decommits actually going to USC, but they got their number one quarterback that now is going to USC to follow Lincoln Riley. How would that impact the Pac-12 and this team now that a team that could have been is going to be an SEC team? You would think that these kids still want to maybe go in there because they're going to be an SEC, going to a Pac-12 team because of coach. What's your take on that, LaMarcus?
Well, with Lincoln Riley being an established coach, obviously being to the big stage multiple times over the course of his career there, I think that him being able to take those players basically speaks to the players' trust in him as a coach. They're not necessarily caring about. I mean, Malachi, he decommitted and committed to USC within like a span of a weekend. So like
it was 24 hours, my guy.
It was 24 hours, yeah. So like. With him decommitting so fast and commit on the spot, obviously for a coach, he obviously did not care about a program, the state of the program, whatever. Because this is one thing you have to keep in mind too. Just as much as a lot of players are now flocking to USC, there's a lot of players who are currently there who do not want to be in that situation anymore. They're going to start leaving. So there's no telling who Lincoln Riley will be able to keep in the program. And, despite him being able to bring in a bunch of new talent and guys coming with him and recruiting new guys, he still has to play with the majority of the guys that's already still there. So depending on what he has there already, that's going to dictate a lot of what he has to deal with for the next few years, what was going to actually happen. I feel like that he has a lot of potential, but he has to sway a lot of things have to go right in order for, him to have immediate success. I'm thinking maybe like 4 to 5 years, they'll be back at that level. But sooner than that, it'll take a lot for that to happen just because he has to play with the guys he has on the roster that are already there.
Yeah, and right before the move to USC, Oklahoma, they had, if I'm not mistaken, they had the number one recruiting for 2023, and they lost like during half their best players, and a lot, like I said, a lot of them going to USC. Do you think that Lincoln Riley's presence is going to be able to make that team that much better, just because of a situation like this where those players are not going to go to?
How has Oklahoma played this year? That's all I want to know. How have they played this year? Did they play any defense? Well, you know what? They fit right in the Pac-12 then. They don't play defense out there either, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Honestly, considering that Lincoln Riley's offense rely heavily on a quarterback play, just like Alabama's team this year, they rely heavily on Alabama play, where we've never seen over the past 3 or 4 years, I would say they rely heavily more on quarterback play. Yeah, but prior to that, quarterback play didn't matter. They had to have a game manager who wouldn't turn the ball over, who wouldn't make mistakes. That's how you get AJ McCarron, players like that.
I honestly think that every quarterback from Alabama is a game manager.
I think having a creator. So I think the alternative to the opposite, or not even necessarily the opposite, but just the flip side of a game manager, I would say, is a creator. All game managers, I wouldn't say are not creators, but I think you're like Bryce. I think he's a game manager and also a creator as well. He can do both. He's great at both, I feel like.
Here's the one thing. I think we're maybe all missing one point. Is Lincoln Riley looking 3 years down the road? Would I rather be coaching U.S. Southern California in the Pac-12, or would I rather be coaching Oklahoma in the SEC? And the answer is the Pac-12.
Right.
Yeah.
It's what. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
when you think, when you really think about it, obviously the decision to go to SEC wasn't his decision, and he's thinking, do I have a better chance winning against Alabama every year, or have a better chance winning against Oregon every year?
The answer is Oregon. Okay, yeah. Pretty. That was pretty simple.
So I understand the decision.
I understand everything that's going on. I just don't understand why everybody thinks Lincoln Riley is going to go out there and fix all the problems of going on in USC. Man, them problems are not just the coach. Oh, yeah. The recruiting hasn't been great. The players don't develop. They get worse from year to year. Every player on the team gets worse. None of them get better. Now, part of that is coaching, obviously. Part of it maybe is you're not recruiting the best players too. I mean, I don't know, because I'm not out there. I'm not as close to that program because it's a Pac-12 and I don't pay as much attention to them. I'm not going to lie. Mm-hmm. But I just think it's a good move for him because, again, I'd rather coach in the Pac-12 2 years from now than competing against LSU and Alabama and all the Georgia. I mean, why would I want to put myself in that situation? I wouldn't, especially if I'm a coach that wants to be recognized as one of the top coaches in football. Because if you're in the SEC, you're under Kirby Smart right now. You're under Nick Saban. You're under several different coaches. Now Brian Kelly's at LSU, and we've always talked about Brian Kelly is a good coach. Now, is he going to make LSU that much better? Eventually, I think they'll be a better team because he is a good coach. But again, 2 years from now, when they're going to be a better team then too. Right. So me and Jerome talked about this. I think maybe we did too, Marcus. LSU is the one team. They're not going to compete every year against Alabama. But after having 2-3 years of guys coming back, second-year player, third-year player, now you have other guys that are second-year players. Now you have bringing a whole new recruiting class. That is when you're going to compete at LSU. Mm-hmm. You're not Alabama. You're not going to compete like Alabama. No one is.
Right. Definitely not gonna compete with Alabama as long as Nick says.
It's not. Man.
I'm gonna say that. I got more to talk about.
Okay.
Definitely. All right. Well, we're gonna get to our week 13 reviews because we have some great games. We have some very interesting games, but we're gonna go to the team that we were just talking about first. Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State. Oklahoma was ranked number 10. Oklahoma State was number 7. Oklahoma State winning Oklahoma 37-33. So like I said earlier, Lincoln Riley lost this game. He knew he wasn't going to get a playoff game, so he up and went right after that game, almost immediately. I think he had bags already packed, just in case. Okay, I think so. Ray, what was your take on this game? I know me and you've been saying this the entire year how inconsistent this team has been. As far as gameplay, as quarterback play wasn't even that bad this time actually. Caleb Williams, 252 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. But Oklahoma State had got the better of them. What's your takeaway from this one, Ray?
I just think that Oklahoma State is a better coach team. It's funny. I'm surprised they didn't go after their coach, but they're just a better coach team right now. They're a more physical team. They're just a more aggressive team. I just don't know. Again, I'm not big on Caleb Williams. I think he's a good athlete. I don't necessarily think right now he's a good quarterback. That's all.
Yeah, he just got over 50% completion rate.
We talked last week, Jerome. He holds the ball too much. He doesn't move in the pocket well. He kind of like is a statue. And the crazy thing is, he's a pretty good athlete, but he doesn't move like he knows how to play the position right now. So
yeah, and I'm sorry about to call you Ryan. I'm sorry, LaMarcus.
Goodness.
Sorry about that. But if you look at the stats, I mean, you look at it and you like, how did Oklahoma State lose? I mean, win because their quarterback Sanders, and a guy that I think I really like him, still young. He threw 2 interceptions. The running back wasn't spectacular. All of them had touchdowns, but it wasn't like something like, oh my God, that was a great performance. Like it was solid performances all around the board. It was, and obviously they gave up 33 points. So, what did you take away from this game? And what do you take away from Oklahoma State? I mean, they won. So,
I mean, Oklahoma State is obviously they're a solid team. I mean, they have been able to be in there with Oklahoma over the past few years. They've been kind of their equal when in the past we've not necessarily seen that at times, but I feel like this year with Oklahoma being so inconsistent and the quarterback play is kind of like you'll never get a full view of how good of a team or how bad of a team they were. You just kind of know you just know that they're not as good as they have been. That's kind of the only thing I could kind of take away from whenever I watch them, because they'll make some big plays, but then consistently throughout the game they'll be doing things that you're like, man, do y'all even practice? Especially when Lincoln Riley deciding to bench a quarterback that you've already taken off the bench to replace your starter. Doing things like that is kind of like, those are moves that I feel like kind of showed that Lincoln Riley was kind of on his way out. Like if you would have kind of took a hint or something, just because that's not a move that that's something I don't think he's ever done. We've ever seen him do anything like that.
No, I agree. And like I said, defense. I mean, Oklahoma's defense has been just bad all year round. That's the only thing consistent about this team. The defense just been bad all year. But the inconsistency on their offense, Lincoln Riley couldn't overcome a lot of stuff that the quarterback play and things like that. You would think they could or would, but it didn't happen. Any last words, Roy, on this one?
I mean, if you look, Oklahoma already hired Brent Venables to be their new coach, correct? So they won.
Was it final?
I think it is, or if it's not, it's going to happen very soon.
Yeah,
if you look, I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me though, because you look at a team that had an offensive mind, because this is where teams usually go. Offensive guy doesn't do the job done, or doesn't get the job done, however you want to look at it. So they bring in a defensive guy. And Venables has been one of the best defensive coordinators in college football for the last few years. He's coaches at Clemson, so he probably has an inkling of how to recruit players. I think that's a good hire for them.
I agree. I don't think it's official yet. I think it was just rumored or like the expectation. So we'll see. I mean, I do agree with you. I think that would be a great hire. Will it be recruiting wise impactful? Maybe not. Coaching wise and doing good for a team, maybe a little bit better. Remy says Oklahoma State is a second tier team to me. I picked a 2-loss Alabama, Oklahoma State, Oregon, or Virginia over them. I agree. No, I agree.
He tried to throw in Ohio State, Notre Dame. I can't agree with those two. I can agree with Alabama. I think Alabama, if they were to have a second loss, which would be UGA, I think they would be the only other team that I would put in that.
But
if Alabama loses to Georgia,
it's over.
If Alabama loses to Georgia, they're not a playoff team. They don't deserve to go there.
As far as talent-wise and winnability, I think that's what we're talking about.
I mean, we haven't talked about this yet, but we just got an Alabama that just beat Auburn by 2 after being favored by 19, right?
I can't consider that. I really can't.
Wow. Okay.
I can't consider it, right? So, obviously the offense.
Same
Obviously,
Alabama team that beat Florida by 4 points, right?
All right, let's talk about it then. Since we're on the subject, let's talk about it. So, Alabama 24-1, they beat Auburn, but Auburn was giving them hell until like the last bit of the game. They went into overtime. They went to quadruple overtime, and Alabama won. So, to continue your thought, LaMarcus, what was your thought of this game? What's going on with Alabama?
So my thing is, Alabama this is my thing. Alabama will have no issue going pound for pound.
I agree with that, Remy.
Going pound for pound with Alabama. Now, a lot of people, they want to just look at margin of victory by UJ all season. All right, I get it. They're dominating. They're dominating the people who are in front of them. Correct. We get it, right? However, they have not been a team that has shown that they can consistently do it on the ground and through the air, right? They had to switch quarterbacks mid-year, okay? They didn't say a real reason why JT Daniels had to sit on the bench, but we know that Stetson Bennett is no better than JT Daniels. I probably would say similar in ability. They're not much better, so that's why it's obvious that people are just confused at the situation of or why he got benched in the first place. Georgia hasn't played from behind, but once, I think, in the first quarter against Tennessee, maybe. I think that was it. But they haven't played from behind. So, with things like that, I think those things matter, especially against playing a team or a coach like Nick Saban who's known for making adjustments. If Alabama gets down, they've proven they can play from behind. They have a quarterback who's a creator. Like we said earlier, he can create. So if they get down, he can create a play here like that. Georgia, on the other hand, they have an inconsistent quarterback, whereas he's more of a game manager, so kind of switching roles. He's more of a game manager now, but he's not necessarily a creator. He may not make any mistakes, but he won't make anything spectacular. And I think them playing from behind, if UGA has to play from behind with Stetson Bennett having to be forced to make more plays on his own, I feel like it'll be kind of bad for UGA. And the fact that they don't have a true number one receiver, right? If we're being honest, they have Brock Bowers, who's a tight end, and then they have who's not going to outrun any Alabama DBs, and then they also have Pickens coming back from injury, and Pickens is coming back from injury, a major injury. So who's to say that he's even ready to compete on that level? And we know that he's not a consistent player either, because his route running is, it's not elite. We know that he's a playmaker, but not elite in route running.
Remy says Georgia is the only season that been clear cut best though. Can't nobody come close to them. I agree with that. LaMarcus, I know you're Georgia. You're a local Georgia fan. Kind of jump the key just a little. Jump the gun just a little bit. We're gonna talk about that game next week in a second. This upcoming week rather. In a second. But to get back to the Alabama Auburn game. And I totally agree with Remy when he says Auburn gave this game away because, Auburn had this game from the beginning. Ray, what is your take on this game?
This is why I don't have faith in Alabama's defense right now. And that's what scares me. Like Marcus says, their quarterback's good. He can make plays out of structure. He's very good. Mm-hmm. But I just think that if Georgia makes a consistent effort to run the ball and take advantage of Alabama's weak play at linebacker, which for the first time in years is really weak right now. Yeah. I think you can beat them. I don't think that – I'm not saying if I'm going to pick Georgia or Alabama yet. We'll talk about that later. But I think that you can beat Alabama if you try to play smash mouth with them. I think this is getting above – I think Michigan is perfectly capable of just smashing Alabama into the ground. I do.
And I don't agree, Ray. I mean, Ray, look at the numbers, and I'll make sure I double check the numbers. If we're going by statistics, and I know statistics don't always tell the full story, but I mean they matter. So we're looking at run yard per carry. That's one thing of the major stats I looked at for Alabama and UGA. Alabama and UGA's per carry, rushing per carry, defensive stat is they're identical. So they both have 2.6 yards a carry and Alabama actually has the edge by like 0.2. But they're per rush, they're pretty much identical. So I think people have kind of discredited Alabama's rush defense. Now I can't speak much after watching that Auburn game. We really look at the statistics they've put up. Put up how many points? They didn't score many points. So the defense wasn't that terrible. And I mean, you look at style of play. Auburn is more of a balanced passing attack. They want to throw the ball as well. They want to run the ball too.
Well, LaMarcus, me and you watched this game together, and and again, you kind of alluded to this, that the stats don't even matter, but me and you watched this game together. It was two big factors in this game that Auburn was struggling in. And I'm not taking any credit. I'm not trying to say Auburn is such a great team and this and that. I'm not saying this. But they were a little handicapped because they had their young quarterback in Philly. It was on his second start, if I'm not mistaken, because Bo Nix is injured. And the fact that even Finley was injured the entire game. Me was watching it, and we seen this man limping the entire game. So he wasn't 100% himself. And you could tell because at the end of the game, they barely were able to score. So do you think that was a big factor into this also? Because, like I said, Auburn defense was shutting down Alabama, who has a Heisman potential quarterback on their team. And Finley was moving up and down the field at some points, during the game until he got injured. And it was very clear that he could not throw off that back get that step on his back foot after a while, because I believe it was an ankle injury as well. So you think that played a big factor into it?
I mean, not necessarily. I think so. I know this matters. Play calling was atrocious.
Oh yeah.
I don't have many good things to say about Bill O'Brien. I think he really handicaps that team. He handicaps the team as far as Bryce Young had to do everything by himself. They didn't do anything to try to establish a run game. I think they had like seven rushing attempts at the half.
Who's that?
Alabama.
Well, that's the thing, though. You were saying that, like, even on defense, Alabama's rush defense is better than Georgia's, but teams don't run against Alabama. They're always playing from behind.
Right.
And,
exactly, and I think that I just think Auburn's defense is not bad. I think people want to discredit. Like, Auburn is known for having good defenses. Auburn's known for having good defenses, so I'm not going to take any away from them. They had more to play for. I mean, they didn't have anything to lose. Well, sorry, Alabama had more to play for. Auburn didn't have anything to lose. And Nick Saban said it in that last week's press conference when he was talking about the fans being entitled. Alabama fans expect them to blow everyone out, and this year has been a shock for them. But I think people still forget that they're gonna get everyone's best shot from week to week. Everybody wants to be. That's everybody's Christmas wish, to beat Nick Saban. They don't even care about beating Alabama anymore. They want to beat Nick Saban and say they beat Nick Saban, and not too many people can say they did that. I feel like that's what they get every week, and they got that with. And it's the Iron Bowl, right? It's Iron Bowl. It's one of the biggest rivalries. It's a rivalry game. We know how those go.
Yeah, I hear that.
I do give Georgia their props. Like, they're hands down more dominant than most teams in the country. But I've never been one to just look at one aspect of it and say, hey, this is the team they're gonna win because they've blown everyone else out. I can never truly say someone will beat someone else because they beat someone else. Or regardless of what the score was. I believe in every given week. I believe in that.
Oh, 100%. Ray, what's your take on what I just said? Obviously, with the quarterback play and Finley being injured, do you think that made a big difference in it? Because like I said earlier on, they were the first quarter there was no scoring, but afterwards they started getting that rhythm, and then as soon as Finley got injured, you could tell he was trying to cater to his injury.
I think it made a difference in the game. I think that Auburn just started playing a little tight in that middle of the end of the third quarter, the whole fourth quarter. They just started playing like teams play when they get against Nick Saban in Alabama. Everybody gets tight. They're all worried.
Yeah, they make mistakes.
They absolutely do. And my only thing is this: Georgia's favored by 6.5 in this game. I don't understand why, but they are.
We'll definitely talk about that.
So you think it should be less or more?
I think it should be less. I think you should put in the equation that Nick Saban is Kirby Smart's daddy. Okay, so you need to put that into the equation too, man.
Pump the brakes. We're gonna talk about it. I know you're excited about this weekend, but we're gonna talk about it. We got some other games. We got some other games. Saturday, man. Go Blue. All right, let's get to some other team. Let's get to another blue team. Penn State versus Michigan State. This game didn't have a whole bunch of playoff implications, but it was still a good game. Michigan State won 30-27. What's up with Penn State? They cannot run the ball this year. I mean, I thought they had some ballers. I mean, I know they lost Journey Brown. I mean, that sucked. But, I mean, Noah Kane, I thought he was going to be really good. Nah. Lee, nah. Ford, nah. I mean, what's going on with their running game? I mean, I always thought of Penn State as at least having a good running back at some point in their program, and it just, don't seem right. What's your take on that, Ray?
They're not a good run blocking team right now. Their tackles are good. They're somewhat athletic. Their guards are slow and can't get out there and can't rotate, and they can't help out in protection either. But they are really slow footed as far as getting out there and to the second level and making blocks. So It truly is the Penn State, the old 3.5 yards in a cloud of dust. That's really what their offense is right now. So until they improve their offensive line play on the interior, they're not going to be able to run the ball. And they're just not – this year is going to be that year. So,
yeah, and Cliffley actually Sean Clifford actually had a good game. 313 yards, 23 out of 34 attempts, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I'm a big non-lover of Clifford, but he got some weapons in the receiving game, but they just can't run the ball. What's your take on this, LaMarcus?
I think that as a team, Penn State, I think the biggest thing with Penn State is without the run game, if you're that one-dimensional, I feel like they consistently don't establish a passing game. So whenever they do have a passing game, they look extremely better than they were. But I think without having a run game, it's just like it shows truly how one-dimensional they are, especially in recruiting. I don't feel like they've had a couple of good receivers in the past that have, in the recent history that have been able to do something. But I don't think they've had like a true guy, and I think that kind of hurts them.
Yeah, 100%.
I think Dotson's a really good player. I just think that their pass blocking is a little better than their run blocking right now. And Sean Clifford, we talked about, is not a great player, but they do pass block better for some reason than they run block. And he's taking advantage of that this year. So
definitely. All right. One Ohio State, one Michigan team to another, my Blues. Let's get to it. You already know, Remy, I hope you're listening. Remy, if you want to meet this part, I understand. It's okay. But before we get to that entire game, I want to get back to what Remy said earlier. And he said, I told y'all 3 months ago that this might happen. This might be our year. Finally being Ohio State is unbalanced and awfully defense. Ryan Day is awful in game adjustment coaching. I believe I've been saying this about our coach last year. Like everything you said, I feel like Ray that was saying about Jim Harbaugh. But I'm gonna let your guys talk, and I'm gonna have my little spill about the game. Michigan State 42, Ohio State 27. First win in 10 years, Ray. Now I'm gonna let LaMarcus start off with this one. Me and you got to watch this game together. What was your takeaway from this entire game?
Well, so to start it off, I've never seen someone so excited to see Michigan win a game. So it's good for me.
Before you continue, you didn't even see half of my assignment.
No, I didn't. I heard it.
Your girlfriend was at home, so I didn't want to disturb her. So it wasn't as bad. It could have been a lot worse. Trust me.
All right, so go
ahead.
So look, Michigan looked like the more dominant team the entire game. I mean, they came out with some juice. The stadium was rocking for them for sure. I think that home field advantage played a big part into it. I don't want to give it entirely to that, but they dominated, and with them not being able to, with them being able to run the ball as effectively they did, they had over 300 rushing yards.
299 actually.
Yeah. So exactly right on the dot, right? So 300 rushing yards with 299, which is great. And when you can rush the ball for 300 yards, that defensive coordinator is going to be slapping himself, because if you can rush for 300 yards, that means you can throw the ball for at least 200, 300. You can throw the ball for whatever you want to once you can run the ball for that many yards.
If you're running for 300 yards, you'll need to throw the ball.
Exactly. But imagine being able to do both. I think having they look like the better team, hands down. Michigan,
they are.
Like the better team.
Let's be completely diplomatic about this. Michigan is a better team than Ohio State this year. It's just that simple.
Agreed.
It's that simple. I mean, you look at McNamara didn't have, he was 13 of 19. For 160 yards. Does he need to do any more than that if you're rushing for almost 300 yards? I mean, they were just a more physical, more dominant team. And Remen said it himself. Their defense has not been good all year, and Michigan went in there, was ready, and took complete advantage of all of it.
All right.
450 yards of offense, man. I mean, that's 2 games against Ohio State usually.
Yeah, man. All right, so Ray, can you do me a favor? Can you look at your phone and you look at my text I sent you on Saturday? What did I say during the game?
I'm going to get to my text, Jerome. You're right at the top, though. You should be happy about that. Okay.
Hey, see if you remember. You don't remember?
I have it somewhere.
You want me to find it for you?
Yeah, go ahead, dude. I'm looking.
I'll probably find it faster. All right, during the game, I remember exactly, but I want to quote it exactly how I said it.
I'll eat my words on the podcast, but I'm happy he stuck to the formula like what I said in the podcast. That part?
He stuck to the formula.
Yes.
That's the part. He stuck to the formula. What did I say last week? Run the ball, no turn. He gave a turnover, and that scared me in the beginning. I'm gonna talk about that. But run the ball, no turnovers, keep the offense off the field. Don't let them run on you either. And that like I said, if you have, it was the perfect formula. All right, let me start from the beginning. They had the attitude from the beginning of the game. They had the attitude. They had the swag. They knew they was gonna beat this game. This is literally the first time in 10 years that I felt like Michigan absolutely knew they can win this game. Hands down. I'm telling you, this is the first time, and I felt it going into the game.
They came out more confident.
Yeah, they was confident. They was ready. They knew, all right, this is our year. This is it right here. We got this. This is nothing. They was ready from the beginning. 2, the play calls. Man, the first drive was just flawless. Went straight down the field. Did an end around to get in the end zone. I mean, who does that? That was perfect. I mean, second drive worried me. I'll say that for sure. After that interception, because I think we got a fumble or something like that, and we got short field. I believe I forgot it was a fumble or something like that. We got short field, or was it a block punt, something like that. We got short field. And, McNamara threw that interception in double coverage. I wish that was the only time I thought that was a horrible play, because he threw it in double coverage. It was a one-man read. I even said that to LaMarcus. I was like, dude, it was I hate the RPO sometimes, because sometimes you do have that one-man read. And once you pull that ball in, you have to throw it at that point. Right. Unless your quarterback's gonna run, you kind of have to throw it.
It was near the red zone too. I think that was. Yeah. I think that was the bad part. It was near the red zone, so that was.
Honestly, Jerome, we're nitpicking a little bit because they won the game so handily, but when you pull the ball back, when you see there's double coverage, dude, just throw the ball away. Throw it at someone's feet. Just throw it away. Don't try to force it in there with double coverage. You just shouldn't.
And that's why I got scared, because I'm like, oh man, this is that turning point. And Ohio State did go down the field and score after that. I'm like, oh man, this is crazy. But the thing I liked about it was that we did not get nervous. We did not fear. McNamara was not nervous. He was like, all right, let's go. Let's get back on our horse. We're gonna run the ball like we were supposed to. They did exactly that. No turnover since then, and it was such a good game by Jim Harbaugh. I'm gonna eat my words on this podcast. I'm sorry, Jim. I'm gonna make a shirt that say I'm sorry.
Here's a short story for you guys.
Podcast, I'm gonna have a I'm sorry, Jim shirt. I promise
you. Like I respect Jim Harbaugh. I know Jerome doesn't. Well, he does now, but I respect Jim Harbaugh as a competitor, not only a coach, as a guy who loves to compete.
Yeah.
When he was drafted by the Bears, Jim McMahon was the Bears quarterback coming off of the Super Bowl, and he told the trainer, "I'll be the starting quarterback by mid-season," and he was correct. Okay, so
yeah, I mean, and I said this a couple of times before. The fact that Michigan is able to adjust what they're doing now, it's so much better. But I gotta give it to them. I was, going to the season, very nervous about the offensive line. Wasn't sure how that was gonna play. That offensive line is very, very good offensive line. You got 3 good running backs, because I wasn't sure about the freshman. He's playing very well as well. Forgetting his name right now, but
Blake Corum.
Huh?
Corum.
No, Corum's not a freshman. He's a sophomore.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Let's see. Oh, Edwards.
Okay.
Donovan Edwards. Yeah, I think he's going to be a special player going down, down the line with him and Corum. But I mean, even Corum, man, he on a bum foot, and he got what was that? 55-yarder?
87 yards on 6. He averaged 14 and a half yards a carry, dude. That's usually what good wide receivers average that.
Man, Haskins with 5 touchdowns. I mean,
5 touchdowns. He averaged 6 yards a carry again. Man, why you don't even have to throw the ball if you're doing that?
The only thing I did not like was the fact that they was giving up some yards to them receivers. Man, them receivers are good. I give you, and that was the one thing I was fearful about with this team, Ohio State, because they do have some really good receivers. But I also felt like, hey, that's probably our best chance to win. Keep having them throw the ball, because you seen what Hutchinson did. You seen what Jabo did. They combined for 4 sacks in the game. I think we combined 6 sacks total in the game, something like that. I mean, it was to the T the formula that you needed to do against Ohio State, and I am super happy. Go Blue. Go Blue. Go Blue. Let's go, baby. We are in the playoffs. We are number 2 right now. Who knew? We went from unranked in the preseason to number 2. Let's move on. I could talk about my team all day. I could talk.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts, guys?
No, I have been not as big a fan as you, but all year, man. I told you, dude, this is a different Michigan team this year, dude. It is.
I was trying to be humble and not say nothing until this game, but I the more games, even after, like I said, and we talked about this, right? After the Michigan State game, I was very depressed after the game. I'm like, dad, man, like we had that game, but then I cheered up real fast because I'm like, that game was close. One call and we could have won that game, and
that was the one game where Harbaugh, for some reason,
that one
stretch in the fourth quarter where he seemed like he got a little tight for some reason. I don't know why.
Tight, and he overthought like his play call. I'm like,
he did.
Man, your quarterback is playing great. Don't take him out for.
Well, we talked about that like during the game. Like you could argue that Michigan is a stupid quarterback switch play where they brought the young quarterback in and he kind of that was a bad decision, dude. And that really maybe you're the number 1 team in the country without that decision. I mean, number 2 is not bad though,
Yeah, no. I mean, the other team, the team from the South is pretty good too. But we're gonna definitely see how that goes, man. Especially
which one, Alabama or Georgia?
Georgia. Talk about Georgia. But let's get into our game picks for this upcoming championship weekend. Let's show the score, Ray.
This is my favorite part, Marcus.
I'm getting killed, man. I will say I did get the Michigan game. So after getting that game, I don't even care about the record. Like, I'm gonna put an asterisk right next to my scores for the Michigan one. But yeah, right. Congratulations, man. I'm not gonna catch up to you, so I'm gonna give you the congratulations now. But we're gonna continue doing this throughout the week, just to for fun.
I was only 6-3 this week. I had a bad week.
Yeah, but I was still 5-4, so it doesn't matter if you're 6-3. If I'm 5-4, it don't matter. Okay, but let's get into this week. We got a couple of games to talk about, so we're gonna try to quickly get into it real quick before we get off. Championship weekend. So we got championship games. We're gonna start off with Oregon versus Utah. We've seen this game already. We've seen who won. Utah handily got this game. I mean, it was not even close. Ray, we talked about this. Utah is only favored by 2.5 at home.
You know my rule about Utah games, Jerome. Jerome picks first.
Marcus, you go first on this one.
I'll pick Utah.
Okay. Ray, you're gonna hate me. I'm gonna pick Utah on this one. I'm sorry, Utah fans, if y'all lose, I'm so sorry. But I gotta go. I can't just go by. I can't choose just because I'm bad luck and I don't want to pick bad luck on you guys. If y'all truly lose, it's me. I'm gonna blame myself. I really am. Utah, I love you guys. Hopefully y'all win. Ray, who you taking?
I'm taking Utah too, man. I'm a little afraid now. I was feeling good till about 30 seconds ago.
That 2.5 just went down to like.
It's like Jerome's like the kids of death when it comes to Utah, man. Have you picked them right all year?
I haven't got a Utah one right all year. I haven't, not absolutely none.
Marcus, do you think we should jump off the ship and go the other way?
Man, knowing what I know, I think Oregon will win for real. I'm saying Utah.
Yeah, I got Utah.
Yeah, I'm going Utah too. Again, that defense looks a lot better. I always love that Utah defense. I'm gonna go with them. I think they're, Oregon hasn't played that many guys this year, and it's showing by their ranking and where they at right now. They got the Ohio State, but after seeing how Ohio State lost to Michigan, you can tell Ohio State is not the same Ohio State. I'll just say that. Not saying they're not a good team, but they're not the same Ohio State. I think if Michigan played the same Ohio State from last year, it would have been a little bit of tougher game. I don't know if the outcome would have been the same or opposite, but I think it would have been a different game. So I will say that Oregon is not as good as they look, especially after the way that Utah just dismantled them that last game. Well, you never know. I could be wrong.
What you see with Oregon is that their offensive line is not very good. So if you get pressure up the middle, you'll get to the quarterback pretty quickly. So,
Oh, 100%. All right, let's get to the Baylor versus Oklahoma State. We talked about Oklahoma State a little bit earlier. They are favored by 5.5. Ray, who you got in that one?
I get Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State.
I think they're a workmanlike type team, and they're a well-coached team, man. They're usually prepared to play. So,
yeah, I like State. I'm gonna take the line on this one.
I am going the same way. I think that they're gonna be. I think they're a better team. I think it's gonna be a tight one. I think I'll put this one closer than I'll put the Utah Oregon game. I think that line should be a little bit less, in my opinion. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but that's how I feel about it.
I do. I think it'll be a little bit closer than the 5 points that's given. I just think that Baylor is a little frenetic team too. They don't always play well every week, so it's kind of get a reading on them also.
That's true. That's definitely true. All right, next game: Cincinnati versus Houston. Lamarcus, who you got in that one?
Rubbing my fingers, rubbing my
Uh-oh.
hands. Man, I haven't picked many. Look, I haven't picked many. Many
Before
of
you
these type of.
continue, Cincinnati is favored by 10.5. Go ahead.
Yeah, Marcus, do it. Do it. Go ahead.
Unpopular opinion, man. College football playoff, they do not want to see Cincinnati get destroyed by anybody that's in that top three. That's in that top four. I don't think Cincinnati is good enough to compete with the Georgia, Alabama, or Michigan. I think that this is the week they'll lose and ruin their entire season and not make the playoff. So I'm gonna take Houston.
I think me and Ray's on the same with Cincinnati. I'm just going to pencil that down.
I'm going to, you know what? If you're asking me to pick the line, I'll take Houston to cover the 10 points fairly easy. I can't take them to win the game, man.
Yeah.
Cincinnati is more a more athletic team than people give them credit for, man. They're not a bad team. When their quarterback plays well, they're really good. Now, he can be up and down too when their offensive line is not great. Their center is good. Left guard and left tackle are good. Right tackle, right guard are not great. So if you can get pressure from that side, the good thing is that's not his blind side. So I think that he'll be okay. But if Ritter doesn't play well, then they could lose. But I don't think that – I think he'll play well enough and they'll run the ball well enough to win. Plus – their corner, I like their defense. I love Kobe Bryant, their corner. I think he's a good football player. I think they're going to have a hard time containing Cincinnati's defensive backfield, which you guys should know, man. That's very important.
Yeah, Gardner is nice. I think he actually won the Defensive Player of the Year for the conference.
He's good. He's ridiculously good, man. I saw firsthand. He basically shut down most of Notre Dame's wide receivers. So
yeah, he's a good corner.
Yeah.
I will ask this question before we get to their next picks. If Cincinnati do happen to lose this game, who's jumping in for? Is it Ohio State? Is it a Oregon if they win? Who will go to 4 for you guys? Who do you think will be the 4th playoff team?
Is it State? Is who's the 5 right now?
Let me pull that up for you real quick. So you have.
I know it's Georgia, Michigan, Alabama, Cincinnati, correct? That's the top 4.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
I'm not sure who's 5.
All right, Georgia, Michigan, Alabama, Cincinnati, Oregon. I'm sorry, Oklahoma State is 5. Notre Dame is 6. Which is going to be hard for them to get in the playoffs. You got Ohio State, Ole Miss, obviously, Baylor, Oregon, Michigan State, blah blah. Who's going up forward for you guys? I mean, that would be hard.
If Oklahoma State covers that 5.5, it's Oklahoma State.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can act like the lines don't matter, but to the polls, the lines matter. Okay, so. I mean, I'm a Notre Dame fan, but I have a hard time ranking Notre Dame over Cincinnati because we lost to them. I'm an old school type of guy that way.
You got a point there.
I don't think it could happen. I think now don't get me wrong. If Oklahoma State were not to cover the line or maybe even lose the game, don't put Notre Dame in because people would rather watch Notre Dame play these other teams than anybody else we're talking about.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's necessarily right. I think that's what they'll probably do.
So my thing is that Cincinnati is undefeated. This will be their first loss of the year. Notre Dame's only loss to Cincinnati. I think you still have to fit Cincinnati in because of that. But if anything,
not if they lose to Houston, no, Jerome. No, you can't.
Yeah, shut the schedule and they lost to Houston.
You can't.
Man, that's crazy.
You can't. Not if they lose to Houston.
That's the knock against P5. That's the knock against P5. I think that when P5 scores, start to get more G5 team or able to get to G5 teams, which G5 teams, Power 5 teams have no real incentive to schedule a Cincinnati, So it's like, why would I even schedule them? So it's kind of hurting Cincinnati in the same breath because those are the teams they need to play to actually.
You know who's not afraid to play all them out of conference teams, though, right, man?
Alabama,
Notre Dame. We play outside that conference. Alabama plays marshmallow teams every other week.
They do.
Notre Dame plays everybody.
They play the SEC West. They play the SEC West, though.
We play SEC teams, too. We play AC teams. We play Big Ten. We play them all, man. All of them.
Yeah, y'all kind of have to because y'all don't have a play.
You have to because they all want to come and get a big paycheck. That's why.
Yeah, and y'all don't have a championship game. So if y'all, actually win those games, y'all could go.
We can always just say, you know what? We're going to stay independent, but we're going to play an ACC schedule. We could do that if we wanted to.
But y'all have to see Clemson. Y'all know y'all got to see Clemson. Y'all know y'all got to see.
We've been playing for the last 50 years USC when they were great, Michigan when they were great, Ohio State when they've been great.
He's not wrong.
We're not Alabama when they're great. We're not afraid of competition. Never have been.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong because that's the reason why I don't like Notre Dame because Notre Dame and Michigan are rivals. We played them a lot back in the day. So I'll give him that. I definitely give him that. But let's move on. Let's get to let's skip over to the most important game this weekend. Let's go to Michigan, Iowa. Let's go to Michigan, Iowa. Michigan's favored by 11.
You passed the SEC cream of the crop game. What are you doing?
I know.
You did it on purpose. I got you.
I got to get the anticipation of it. Got to get you guys excited to hear the last thing so y'all can stick around.
I'm surprised you didn't say it. I'm just surprised you didn't say Big Blue for the last game. That's all.
Big Blue.
Are y'all going to go blue? Are y'all going blue?
Oh, yeah, of course. Absolutely.
All right.
I've been rooting for Iowa. Now, here's the thing. If Iowa beats you, I could sneak over top of you.
If what?
If Iowa beats Michigan, I could jump over top of Michigan. Notre Dame could jump Michigan. Okay.
I
don't think it's going to happen, but I do pray to God every night, brother.
Whatever, man.
I do. Next one. Don't worry.
Pitt versus Wake Forest, 15 versus 16. Pitt is favored by 3. Ray, who you taking in this one?
I got Pittsburgh. This is probably really the toughest game I'm picking this week, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think so too. Let me hear from LaMarcus first. Who you taking in this one?
Man, I don't know if I said it last week, but I can't pick Wake in big games. I don't. So from watching the game, talent wise, I wouldn't even say they're amongst the top 20 most talented teams right now. I think they play well together. But you start looking at matchups. Yeah, they're good. They're well coached. They're a good team. They don't make that many mistakes. I think against a team like Pittsburgh, who has athletes across the board, dominant defensive line, they'll get them troubles in their individual matchups.
Yeah,
like Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm taking Pitt as well. And tight games and close games like this, I generally look toward 2 things: the defense and the quarterback. And I think in this game, Pitt has a better quarterback, so I'm going Pitt with this one. That's usually how I go with Pitt. So
yeah, Kenny Pickett's been that guy most of the year. So yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. I agree. All right, USC versus Cal. Cal is actually favored by 4. Marcus, who you taking in this one?
I'm taking Cal. USC doesn't have a coach.
Technically they do, but
they don't have a coach.
Can't Lincoln just call plays in from the Xbox or something? Like, come on, man, just get it started. Let's go.
Maybe I don't know how it works. I've never seen that before.
Don't worry. If they could, they would. It is USC. So, what about cheaters? Yeah.
I'm bringing this guy mid-season. Hey, come coach our.
Yeah. Yo, Lincoln, come here. Don't talk to our head coach over here. Oh, who's your head coach this week? I'm not sure. You just go talk to all the guys running the offense. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I think the craziest part was no. Who coached the last game? Was that did they bring in Bob Stoops to come coach?
They did. They did.
Oh yeah,
They brought in Bob Stoops to coach Oklahoma State.
They dusted him off, pulled the cobwebs from underneath his nostril over here, man. Go ahead. Go, Bob. Do it for us. Go ahead.
I don't know what the rules are with that, but yeah.
I was like, when I saw that, I thought it was a joke. Like I literally didn't think about it again when I saw it.
I was tripping too. I'm like,
I just want to see him fit in the same shirt that he wore 10 years ago. That's all. With that stomach is, man. He is John Gruden belly, man. Like,
welcome to the College Football Podcast.
There you go.
All right, obviously you get to the last game. Bama, Georgia, SEC, the game of the week. I want to know who you guys taking. LaMarcus, I'm sorry with you, man, because you're the SEC guy. Who you taking?
I don't say this much. Roll Tide.
Whoa! I wasn't expecting it. I really wasn't expecting it.
Look. I just know. I know it's a setup. Like this is a setup game for UGA. Like they're gonna see them twice. I believe Alabama's gonna make it to Natty, and in order for them to get to the Natty, they have to beat UGA. UGA is gonna make it regardless. Mm-hmm. They're gonna make it to the playoff regardless.
Both these teams are going to.
Not necessarily. I mean, if they lose, if Alabama loses, it's not likely that the polls will be. Like I said, I think they'll be the only 2-win team that could make it. But if they don't, then UGA is the only surefire team out of this matchup. But I like Alabama. I feel like their defenses match up. I think their defenses match up to what Alabama does. The UGA offense is run heavy, run predicated. So having a defensive team like Alabama, they're still only giving up less than 2.6 yards per carry throughout the season, and they've given up one game of 100 yards. I think everything else is like 98 and below. So I think they're not slaps, they're not pushovers when it comes to defense. They haven't been what we've seen in the past, which is I think why we discredit them so much. I feel like they're still a good team. Bryce Young is a beast. I think that he'll give that defense some problems. They'll be able to make some big plays. I like Alabama.
Okay. All right, Ray. We agree with every game so far.
I agree with everything Marcus said, except for the fact that Alabama's 6-point underdogs and they're going to lose. That's all. That's all. I mean, I think that if Georgia's going to ever beat them, this is the year they're going to beat them. That's all. If they don't beat them this year, then it's the next 3-4 years before they even have a shot again.
Because recruiting is gonna.
Exactly. Well, it's Alabama. They reload every year, man, and they've had a down year. But let's face it, man. The last 3 years, they have lost 8 first-round picks. That's going to catch up to eventually. Man.
Right.
It's going to have to,
especially when it's on one side of the ball too.
I think Georgia's the more experienced team, and that's not usually the case with these two teams either. I think that again, probably talent-wise, they're really close. I do like Alabama's quarterback better, which kind of scares me. We talked about that. I'm not a Stetson Bennett fan. But I think Alabama, again, if Georgia doesn't win this game, so they better go out there and really hard and try to win this game. Because, again, if it doesn't happen this year, it's not going to happen for a while again. So, and I'm going to be a little selfish also because if Alabama loses, it helps my team. So let's don't roll Tide, okay?
Honestly, Ray, I agree. I just don't think that if this is the year, if this is not the year, if it's not the game, I just think that Georgia will still beat Alabama in the Natty. I just have I feel like it's a setup. That's why I said a setup. I feel like the voters and the rankings, they want a Natty with Alabama, Georgia. In order to get that, they have to make who lose? They have to make UGA lose in the SEC championship. I don't know. I'm interested. I'm ready. I'm ready to see it.
Oh, some conspiracy stuff right there. I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. He trying to say it without saying it. He trying to say it without saying it.
Yeah.
Hey, I gotta be honest, man. I gotta be honest.
But listen, this is my take on it, right? I'm taking Georgia. But I'm taking a Ray, relax. You're reconsidering. You're reconsidering. Hear me out though. I think that line is supposed to be a lot closer because Georgia has a better defense against a younger quarterback. He's playing very well, but that Georgia defense has been dominant. And when you have a dominant defense and you're going against a rookie or not rookie, a freshman quarterback, I like to say rookie for some reason, a freshman quarterback, what do? You get in his face, you smack him in the mouth, you make him reconsider his life. I'm sorry. That's what you do when you have a rookie or a freshman quarterback. And
you really think they're gonna allow? You really think Alabama? I promise you, Nick Saban came into that office on Monday and said, "Do not let anyone touch Bryce." Because if Jordan Davis gets his hands on Bryce at any point,
did you see what Auburn did to Bryce though?
Yes, but like I said, that's one game. I feel like they'll be able to neutralize this. With teams who have dominant pass rushers that you can't really block, what do? You game plan away from them, so we don't allow them to even create.
I do that.
We don't allow. They can't allow Jordan Davis or Jacoby to can't allow them to create anything.
In my opinion, when you have a game like that, you usually lean on your running game, and Alabama has barely leaned on their running game this year. In my opinion, I just think that the defense is going to be better. I'm not even looking at Georgia's offense. I think it's going to be a close, low-scoring game. And if there are going to be scores, it's probably going to be from defense or field goals. It's just going to be a lot of defensive field goals, in my opinion. I think that, the only thing is the Kirby Smart thing. I've been saying this to everybody in my job. It's the Kirby Smart versus Nick Saban thing. Kirby Smart had Nick Saban 2 years in a row.
Couldn't do it.
And Kirby Smart did Kirby Smart things and lost the game at the end of both of those games. The last 2 years, I think Georgia has the better formula now this year as far as the defense to at least score enough to, beat Alabama. Now, Kirby Smart has to not Kirby Smart. He has to be actually smart, not Kirby Smart. So that's just what just my opinion. I think, and again, I think if that happens, I think you still will have that other game. And like LaMarcus said, it might go the opposite way in the actual natty. Maybe Alabama might not want to pull out all the cards in this game. Because they know they most likely still going to be in the playoffs. It's kind of known. Like 2-loss Alabama, it's like a 1-loss Alabama. Especially this late in the season against a number 1 team when they're ranked number 3. So I personally think that that's how this game is just going to go. I think Kirby Smart's going to get his win here, but playoff time is going to be a whole different ball game because Nick Saban's going to reverse everything that happened and do some different things. But I do think this first game is going to be Georgia. Any takes on that, Ray? You're on my side.
I think like you said, I think that normally Alabama would be a more balanced team than they are this year. And the way to take advantage of that is like Marcus said, spread everybody out. But then you're leaving your offensive line acceptable to blitzes. And man, if you do that against Georgia, you could really be in trouble if your quarterback is banged up already. You're going to put him in that situation. Wow.
But I agree. But that's why I look at. Think about what Alabama has when guys are in space. I think that's why Alabama. Their best bet is to create one-on-one matchups across the board. Let like Jamison Williams make plays and those kind of guys.
Mechie, Williams are really good. I'll be honest with you, Marcus. Here's the thing. If I do that, I still have to have some balance in my offense. I can't just let their defense tee off of my quarterback. I have to at least show them the run at least every once in a while to let them think, if you go all defensive back on me, we're going to run the ball somewhat. So you can't just get free shots at my quarterback. That's all.
Yeah, and in any other year, I'd be like Alabama's offensive line can hold up against a blitz, but this year it's not the same. I mean, Evan Neal been the one constant on the offensive line, in my opinion. I think he's the only one that's just I've been watching the offensive line because I like Evan Neal for a lot of reasons. Obviously, I interviewed him, so I watched the offensive line. He's the only one I see that's dominant on the offensive line every play. Everybody else are okay or solid, But I just think that Alabama's offensive line is not the same offensive line. The defense is not the same that it usually is. They got a young quarterback, which showed some leaks last week against Auburn. Yes, they won a game. He played well after the fact, but I just think with all those factors in this first time, I'm going to give it to Georgia's defense.
Right. I mean, again, I just think that if you like, and we talk about Alabama, they've lost offensive linemen in the last few years too. So Landon Dickerson was a huge player for him last year, and losing that guy who's that really good linebacker, the good lineman who was not only good at getting to that first level, but getting to the second level and helping your running game out. I mean, not having that again is a big deal for this week. I just think if you're Georgia, I'll be honest with you, Marcus, I agree with you about spread people out, run. But if you're going to do that, you can't run these deep crossers and outs that they like to run. You need to run literally crossing patterns all over the field, so your quarterback can get rid of the ball quickly. That's all.
I agree. I totally agree. Quick slants.
Correct, exactly. Something so he's 1-2, I'm out. 1-2, I'm out. If you hold the ball and spread everybody out, you're going to leave him susceptible. That N'Kobe, their linebacker, number 17, he loves quarterbacks that just get free shots like that, man. It just scares me. It does.
If I was Nick Saban, I wouldn't allow Bill O'Brien to call plays this week. I just wouldn't.
Bill O'Brien. Why? He's going to get a head coaching job too soon somewhere, right?
I hope so. He needs to get out of Alabama. I think that was a weakest spot this year. Play calling.
Yeah. Some of the calls were.
It was bad, but you know what? Bill O'Brien is one of them guys that wants to really run the ball too, and I think their offensive line not helping them out. And man, they've lost running backs too, and so I think the fact that he knew his offense wasn't going to be as balanced as he would like it to be. I mean, you are talking about the guy that he traded his number one receiver, right? So again, he's a guy who wants to run the ball, and when he's doesn't have that flexibility or that luxury, he seems out of place. He does.
What did he trade his wide receiver for?
A backup running back that can't play anymore.
A bag of donuts.
Yeah, a bag of chips. Yeah. Oh man,
that and the fact that he didn't get along with his quarterback wind up. That was the end, man. You can't make. See what it is, though. Honestly, not to get too much in the NFL stuff. Everybody who seems to have at least most of the, I shouldn't say everybody, most of the guys that coach with Bill Belichick or Nick Saban always think they can go somewhere else and recreate that. There's a reason why they're Bill Belichick and Nick Saban. You have to earn that right to act like that. These guys can go into a press conference and tell you exactly what they want or what they don't want, and they can get away with it because their track record says I can get away with it. You can't be Bill O'Brien and act like you're Bill Belichick because people don't even know who you are, honestly. So, if you didn't yell at Tom Brady on the sidelines one time, you probably would never got a head coaching job.
All right.
No, you're right. You're right. So, hey, man, that's going to do it for us today, man. And I hope you guys enjoy this weekend because I know I will. It's going to be fun watching that game in particular. I can't wait to see who wins the game. I mean, no matter who wins, it's just gonna be fun because they're gonna have to play again. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna definitely be fun to see how that goes. But that's gonna do it for us to get today.
Can I say one more thing before we get off, Jerome?
Hey, right.
This is the NFL, so I don't want to go crazy. All the people that have been killing Tua for the last few months, right? Guy has 16 games under his belt, 3,600 yards. 22 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 6 rushing touchdowns, 67.8 completion percentage. Sounds like a solid year for a rookie quarterback, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Since Peyton Manning threw twice that many interceptions in his first year.
No, I agree. I agree with you,
All
Ray.
right.
I'm just a little sour because y'all messing up our first round pick. I'm just saying.
By the time we're done, San Fran will pick ahead of us. Okay. You, I'm sorry.
No, yeah, we're not gonna get that. Those three top 10 picks that I was hoping for. So, hey guys, thank you so much for checking us out. Make sure you check us out on InsideTheHashes.com and also find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. Make sure you find us Inside the Hashes where you find all our great content. We got gaming, fantasy football. We got draft stuff. We got player interviews that we interview. A lot of these players that we talk about. On a lot of these teams. Go make sure you check that out on Inside the Hatches on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Where you find all and wherever you want to find all your podcast needs. Also, make sure you go like and subscribe on our YouTube channel because right there you can make sure that you find us live. I mean, if you're not watching us live now, that's okay. Put that comment down below because we will answer your questions on there. But if you want to be on here live, we will be on here live as well. And we put your comments on here, like our guy Remy on here. We do appreciate you being on here as well. And I forgot who else was on here. Avery, do appreciate you being on here as well. And all our other viewers. I see some guys peeking in here and in there and out. So I do appreciate y'all being in here. But guys, make sure you like and subscribe on our YouTube channel because we got all different content on there, including a lot of great player interviews as well. So make sure you go on there Inside the Hashes on YouTube. So guys, thank y'all so much. We are so glad for you to be here. I'm Jerome Jones. That's LaMarcus Bailey right down there. We got the man, the myth, the legend, obviously Mr. Ray Roberts down there. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. Can't wait to see these games. Hope you enjoy. Y'all be safe out there. Enjoy. Have a good one. Peace.